you hear that? I have friends that are video editors, and another friend's executive producer of a bunch of TV shows, and they tell me that look, there's a ton of regular dramedy out there, and I still want music that sounds like dramedy and has all the structural stuff that dramedy has, but give me something other than pizzicato strings. Maybe a sampled sound like a mousetrap with reverb on it doing, the
Yeah,
pizzicato string part.
yeah, yeah.
So they enjoy that because if it's something that's too far away from regular dramedy, it won't work. But something that's a little more interesting without being obnoxious about it or like narcissistic about it, where
For
you
sure.
don't want the viewers leaving the dialogue or what the scene is about to go, oh, I wonder what sample sound that is doing the pizzicato string part. But
Yeah,
they feel the freshness in the approach. So I completely
indeed.
agree
Yeah.
with you. You mentioned a couple times now, you've mentioned collaborating with people. Do you collaborate with other taxi members?
Oh, yes, I do. And I'm going to make a name here because I mean we know him like, anyway. Vince
Okay.
Nicotina.
Oh, yes, I love Vince.
That's an interesting story behind that. We actually met at my first rally
Okay.
in the
What
line
year was your
in
first one? 2019?
2019. That's right. In the
Okay.
registration line, of course. So I think he was, yeah, there you go. He was standing just before me. I think he turned around and said hello. So I don't know. But anyway, that was the start of a really, really lovely and beautiful friendship, rather than just a collaboration. We also collaborated eventually to the point when he did mention about the placement on the ABC on the Con season 2. He
Right.
did mention his collaborator. It was me.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now you know something more about that.
That's great.
But it all
I
started.
wish sometimes when people send in their stuff for the success story column, they mention, yes, I did it with a collaborator, and we'll reach out to them and say, who's the collaborator, but they don't get back to us in time for the publication. So
Yeah,
sorry about that.
I don't know. I don't know how he would react to this if he watches this with that I made his name publicly.
That's
I
okay.
think
I'm sure he'd
he'll
be
be
fine
okay
with it.
with it.
He's a pretty
But
modest,
yeah, I mean,
humble guy, but I think he'll be fine with it.
yeah, yeah. It was great. As you always mention, many things happen at the rally, starting from the registration line or even before that, all the way through the end of the event.
Yeah.
And even outside of the panels, classes, whatever. When you meet people like at the bar, of course, which yeah, I hang around the bar, although I don't buy anything because it's super expensive.
Right. Hotel beer is $11 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, no. But yeah, I mean, it's a great place. You're just there, very relaxed, and it feels like you can talk to anybody, even if you're a very introverted person.
I'm
I used to be much more introverted in my younger years,
yeah.
but after all, I'm Italian. I've got my temperament, I've got my hot blood, and I like to be loud and I like to speak a lot.
I'm so glad that you've mentioned, the how easy it is to feel comfortable at the rally because I'm always disappointed that 100% of our members don't come to the rally. Um, as you mentioned, there are just so many levels that you
Yeah,
gain. First of all, gain friendships on a non-musical level, but they're friendships, and then you gain friendships that are musical and become collaborations. Have you ever met any industry people that you've become friends with and worked with because you went to the rally?
I did. And in fact, the last two times I came to the rally as a guest, I actually met two of them who asked me to join the roster.
Nice.
One was, by word of mouth. So they were
Okay.
told that you should get the guy, me. I don't
Nice.
know why, but
Well, you
anyway.
must be doing something very right.
Yeah. And then, that was, yeah, 2 years ago. And then last year, another one, another famous one. I went over to him to say hello, and he said, "Oh, Marco, yeah, how are you?" Blah blah blah. So he gave me his business card. "Oh, now I have my own library. Why don't you write for me?"
Wow. You know, so many people fear that they're, first of all, oh, I don't want to, I just saw somebody post the other day. It said, I live in Virginia. I don't want to fly to the rally because it's a 5 hour flight, 4 hours and change. And I think, wow, there are guys like Marco that come from the UK. We've got members that come from South America, members that literally come from Japan. Minoru comes from Japan every year. Great guy. Another, I see him every year.
He comes every year. I don't know why I've never met him because I really want to meet him as
He's
well.
such a
He seems such
sweet,
a nice
good man.
person.
And I understand. Look, I'm basically a wallflower. I go to a party, I'm the guy that stands in the corner talking to my wife all night. Unless people are talking about music or business, I probably don't have anything to
Yeah,
contribute to the conversation. But the road rally, everybody says that no matter how shy you are, introverted, no matter you don't know anybody, that literally before you get your badge in your hand, you will have made friends that end up becoming
yeah,
friends for life. So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
yeah.
Uh,
Like it happened to me and Vince, in the registration line. That was
yeah,
incredible.
you know,
And
truthfully,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
do understand. I mean, some people may not want to come because it's an expense for them. They literally can't afford it at the time, at the
Yeah,
moment in time. Yeah, that's okay, of course. But anyway, if you said if somebody lives more or less close
yeah.
to LA, and if they can afford it, then why not?
Even with the economy, and I don't know how the economy is in the UK, but in America, because of gasoline prices and grocery prices and clothing prices in general being really high right now, and it's very, very hard for a lot of families. And people say, I can't afford to come to the road rally. And I've been unemployed. I've been so broke that I couldn't pay rent and buy food in the same week. I
Yeah,
get it. But, I don't want to encourage anybody to incur credit card debt, but sometimes in
no, of
life
course not.
you have to take a chance and invest in yourself. So
Yeah,
if you spend $1,000 on the airfare, well, you
yeah,
probably spend more coming from the UK, but to come from Virginia, as this person said they weren't going to do because of the expense. Okay, so it's a $350 plane flight, and you'll probably spend another $600 on hotel and maybe a couple $100 on food. What business could you start for a couple $1,000s? You're investing in your future. So yes, while you may incur
yeah,
a little credit card debt now, 5 years from now, that will pay off in spades because of the relationships that you make at the rally, which you're making my case. I don't have to repeat what
yeah.
you
I
said.
mean, exactly. I wouldn't deny that. I mean, again, if one can afford coming to the rally and they have the means, why not? I mean, it's worth it.
Um, You did something, you know what? You asked me, why me? Why did I pick you? I can tell you exactly why I picked you. You put a post on the forum before last year's road rally saying that I've come as a guest the last time or last couple of times,
Yeah,
but I am where I am because of Taxi. And I feel that even though I could come for free as somebody's guest, I want to renew my membership and come to the road rally because I feel like I owe a debt of gratitude in so many words. And
yeah,
that meant so much to me that I literally, as I read that, I thought someday I've got to interview this guy for the passenger profile. And here we are. So I really, really appreciate that because a lot of people use Taxi as a launching pad, and it takes them to a level where they don't need us anymore because they've got so many briefs coming directly to them from the libraries, people that they've met at the road rally, companies they've gotten forward to through the listings, and they kind of graduate away from their need of Taxi, which I would argue you always want to get your music in as many places as possible
yeah,
because while one library has a dip, another one has a peak. So it all evens out if you're in more places. But on an emotional level, purely emotional level, forgetting the business side of things, I always appreciate that people remember how they got their start
yeah,
and who they came to the dance with. Leave with the person you came to the dance with.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it made sense to me to return as a member at that time. And I left the first time a little bit, still a little bit disappointed. I've had my modicum of success during the first 2 years as a member. I actually got 2 deals and a half, with people. And
And a
you know,
half.
yeah, the art deal didn't turn into a concrete thing. Unfortunately,
Uh,
they picked another composer because they could supply them with the full album of tunes that I couldn't do. But you know, for those two deals actually turned into friendships. One actually really really close. You know, and then again, you know, I did my quite a bit of cold calling to calling to libraries, and I go into libraries, you know, just like sending an email that says, "This is my music. What you think?" And they say, "Yeah, okay, join us."
right, but that was because you're already experienced at that point,
Yeah,
and knew
exactly.
the business side and had the music to back it up. So that's important.
Indeed, yes. And then I decided, but I still wanted to come to the rally because I wanted to see people. I wanted to see the friends first and foremost, and of course, also you know meeting other people like in the industry, making new friends. And then I thought, you know, after the second time coming as a guest last year, I thought, okay, I think two times is more than enough as a guest. I I don't want to do this anymore, and I want to rejoin and do the occasional listing. Actually, I've done more than the occasional listing, to be fair, but it's been good because even if I had a few returns, actually more than forwards, because you know on my submissions, my latest submission, I've actually repurposed those tracks and they found a home anyway.
Right.
So at the end of the day, even if I don't get over the screener because they think, look, you could have done this differently, blah blah blah. I can apply the you know the feedback, and then you know somebody else likes what I did, and they decide to take it in, so it works out anyway eventually.
We're going to be rolling out a new feature, which I can't talk about during the interview, other than to say we have found a way to solve that problem.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, big time. And we've discussed it with a dozen or a couple of dozen library owners. They like the idea. We've discussed it with a few members privately. I've had a 3 hour meeting with our developer, our web developer yesterday about it. And he says, I think I can have this ready by the rally, which means it'll be ready by next summer. Um, things don't always move as they should, but it's going to be kind of a major breakthrough for
now you
Taxi's
made me really
members.
curious.
Yeah, it's a way for members to create music that's not for a specific brief and still get it
Okay.
exposed. That's one layer of it. Anyway, it's something that I think
Oh,
everybody will love, and it solves a couple of
it's right. It's like those listings that you know that they pop up every now and then. That this is not for a specific briefs, but you will be submitting them anyway to
yeah,
libraries.
yeah. This
Sounds similar
is
to that at least.
a streamline. When you hear the idea, you'll go, "Oh, that makes so much sense."
Yeah.
And I think that look, it frustrates us when a screener is sitting there listening to music and they hear something that's really good, but it's only 75% of what the brief asked for, and they say, "Sorry, oh, we get this every day where somebody asks for, a pop rock tune with male vocals, and people still
Yeah.
send in music with female vocals." Oh, I didn't notice that in the
That's
brief. Well,
that's quite a big blunder, to be fair, but
it is, but I mean, just read the listing two or three times. Maybe make a little
yeah,
bullet point list of the things it asks for. Anyway, so now we have a way to solve that problem because
that's good. Yeah.
we meet about once a quarter with our library customers on a Zoom, and we suggested to them that when the screener hears something great, but it's not on point for what the listing asks for, can we forward that to you on an additional list? And they're like, no, no, no. We love what we get from you. We love the way you do it. Don't change anything.
Yeah.
So that really bothered me because look, sometimes, a lot of times, we hear stuff that's really, really good, but it doesn't fit what they need. So goes back to
Yeah.
my shoe store analogy. If a lady asks for a female, a lady shoe with a 3.5 inch heel in beige, and you bring
Yeah.
out a men's shoe in 9.5, a penny loafer in brown, it's still a great shoe, but it doesn't have a use in that scenario. So we've
Yeah.
come up with a way for all the shoes to get noticed.
Excellent.
Yeah. Many people, musicians, and had I not started Taxi and been part of the industry, I would have thought this as well. But growing up and being in bands, and then even as a starting out engineer producer back in the mid 70s, there was a general impression, feeling, belief amongst musicians that people in the industry want to keep you out. They're looking for an excuse to say, sorry, not good enough, not right enough. And that basically a lot of people in the industry were kind of either shady or nasty or trying to keep you out. Has your experience now that you work with several or many music library owners, do you find any of them to be shady or underhanded or trying to keep you out, or the opposite?
I think there may be the odd one that, you know, doesn't really adopt proper business practices, if you will.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't eliminate
One.
them all. Yeah. But I mean, generally speaking, I don't see that happening. I mean, why would they want to keep you out anyway? I mean, if you can bring value to them, they also get something out of that, what you do.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would
So I mean,
think.
if they can, place your tunes, like if somebody, some production comes and browse the catalog and they see, like they get me in, that some production, TV production comes, oh, we think this tune from this guy, me, fits our needs right now. So we want to license it. That's a win-win for me and for the company owner.
Yeah,
So I
there.
don't really see why they would not want to have you in unless you, again, if one really doesn't understand the business and is unwilling to understand the business. And I know you often bring this up, this subject about people not really understanding the business, and some of them, they think they are on top of the business, they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But there are some rules. No, the game has got rules. You have to play by the rules.
And how did
I
you
don't
learn?
think.
How did you learn those rules?
Yeah, I mean, you. How did I? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, again, it's probably you see other people doing it, and you ask them, so how do you do this? How are you doing this? Are you getting your music used here and there? And then they say, yeah, this happens this way. This needs to be done this way. And I remember I brought, like, the person I mentioned before, the drummer from around London that I did the Asian hip hop with. He didn't know what sync music was until I mentioned it.
Right.
So, and I said to him, "Yeah, look, we need to do this, and this. So when you give me your parts that you're doing, just do them like this, and this." So in a way, I was trying to pay it forward, as they say, because somebody did the same with me. So
Hmm.
it made just sense to me to do the same with other people, and I even other collaborators that were new to the world of sync music. I did the same because I did learn what the rules are. I also learned that I mean, to a degree, I learned when you can break those rules without enraging the library owner. But they probably think, oh, that works. It's something new.
Yeah.
But I mean, eventually you have there's a set of basic rules that you need to learn to understand this part of the industry anyway.
Hey, even Pablo Picasso said I had to learn how to paint flowers before I could become Pablo Picasso.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't run if you don't know how to walk anyway.
A great analogy. Um, when you deal with the industry and the libraries, they're following the same theme. There's a level of professionalism. Um, Creative people, in my personal opinion and experience over many, many years, tend to think, "Oh, those rules don't apply to me. I don't. They're going to be okay if I get this to them a day late." Or even though they said they wanted, '90s hip hop, I've got something that sounds more modern, but when they hear it, they're going to love it. Um, was it hard for you to get your mind wrapped around all I have to do is give them what they ask for, and make them happy? And then you earn their respect and their trust so that if you give them something that's a little outside the lane, they'll be more open minded about hearing it. Was it difficult to learn that?
No, not really, because quite I- I'm quite fastidious, for many things, for probably for too many. Despite, but I also like to be flexible as much as possible. But for example, I understood quite quickly that, if I am new, if I am on a new relationship with somebody and they ask me exactly, "So we need this now." I don't really want to go overboard and say, no, okay, I'll give you this, but with my own twist, unless I am feeling that they may be okay with it. But
Hmm.
as soon as you have, established a relationship, you have earned trust and you become friends, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's it's making friendships, even if it is a business, but it's making friendships.
Yeah.
And at that point, when you have become friends with the company owner, they they are open to everything, to anything you may, you know, throw at them. They're happy to listen to what you can bring to the table, even if they are like, we have this brief, we have this listing. What about if you have this little thing? It's a bit outside of it, but what do you think? And you feel like, because now you have a relationship that you nurture, and you feel quite comfortable speaking with them. You don't feel you've gone over the initial feeling like, "Oh, I don't want to, you know, uh, make them angry or like disappoint them." It becomes much more easier, of course. So
I think it's hard for a lot of people who haven't experienced and learned what you have to understand that that's how it goes. You work with them, you earn their respect, their friendship, their trust,
yeah,
and then it becomes almost a collaboration with the library owner in a working friendship. And I think a big part of that is so many musicians, because studio technology has gotten so good and so inexpensive, that they're isolated at home working out of a bedroom, and they don't get out in the world and they don't meet these people and they don't have relationships. So I'm really glad that you feel so strongly about the road rally is a great place to meet people, because
I
it
still
gets
think,
you
and
out of that isolation.
it's quite human, to be fair, to feel a little bit, how can I put it, not afraid, but like wanted to be cautious initially when you building up a new relationship, because you don't really know each other yet. So you feel a little bit afraid. Probably, yeah, I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to, make a mistake. And then probably they say, no, we don't want to work with you anymore.
Right.
I understand that. Many people probably feel like that at the beginning, but then when you get into it and start working with them more and more, and you feel much more relaxed. And when you see that the company owner actually treats you like a friend, then I think, oh, that's the moment you really feel relaxed and finally you
It's
can let
hard. It's
go.
hard for people who haven't experienced to understand that people in
Yeah,
business can become your friends.
yeah. And I think it's just human. It's just that our nature. We probably whatever our society has become makes us think that we always have to be very uptight, very buttoned up, and never disappoint your business partner or whatever. You have to do things by the book. Yeah, of course you have to, but at some point you become more than acquainted, and you can just forget all that, and then now you're friends, and you just have a conversation with them, and just let's work together on this. What do you think? Like, for example, when I suggest like a new album to a library owner, because I feel like they might love the idea, and usually they do. So
That's
why
great.
not?
They're so busy pitching music that they don't have enough free time for ideation to just sit back. I find that my most productive days for taxi are the weekends, when I can just think about stuff and I come up with my best ideas. When you're
Yeah.
busy with the day-to-day stuff, you don't. So I think it's great that the library owners have learned to almost look at the composers as business partners and sources of new ideas and genres they may not have even thought of.
Yeah.
What would you say? Are there any topics that I haven't thought of, or questions that I haven't thought of, that pop into your head that you would like to convey, mostly to newer members or members who are frustrated that I've submitted 10 things, I got two forwards, I didn't hear from anybody, and it's been, 90 days. This taxi thing is not working out for me. Anything?
Well, I think that panel that you know you had the latest rally with Craig Pyle, Matt Vanderbilt, Vince Nicotina was Mason Cooper as well, I believe,
Yes.
about
Oh, the one
the
about
black hole.
that's in the newsletter right now. Do you feel like
Yeah,
your music has
exactly
gone
that.
into a black hole?
Yeah, that I think I absolutely agree 100%. I was there in the public, of course. But yeah, I do agree 100% with what was said back then. It makes a lot of sense. There are so many variables that we on this side of the business cannot control because we're not on the other side of the fence. So we don't really know what's going on. But when they mentioned, look, we also have our own problems with the companies we work with. Like
Right.
we pitch the music to them and we don't hear back from them, then they are exactly like in the same position as we composers are.
So true.
Yeah. So that's it. I would basically repeat that verbatim.
This is
Yeah,
why the
and
road rally is so important because to have a panel like that, and the ballroom holds, depending on how we set up the chairs, anywhere between 880 and 1,000 people in that room. To have that number of people sitting in the room going, oh, I feel that all the time too. I get frustrated. I make a submission, taxi forwards it, I never hear anything. That might cause them to give up the entire idea of trying to be in the sync music industry. But by coming to the rally and just hearing that one thing in that one panel could literally change the course of their life.
yeah. And I really like the fact that those panels, the transcript of those panels actually gets published for free for everybody to see and read. So even if you were not there, eventually you get to read what was said. That's very useful as well. It's as much useful as being there. I mean, if you're there, it's a different vibe, it's a different feel, of course. But at least you get a transcript you can
That part of
see.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. But also,
hard.
yeah, there's the other mantra, the write, submit, forget, and repeat. So don't
Yep.
get too much pressure. I know you may never hear from a library owner that got the music from a forward. That's part of the game. I mean, we can't do anything at that point. I mean, when our music has been forwarded, it is not in our court anymore. We can't control it anymore.
Right. Neither can we at Taxi. All we can do is find them
Yeah,
the music that best fits their need.
exactly. I mean, to be fair, the forwards have got so far. I've actually, I'm not precious and attached to them anymore, and I pitched them somewhere else.
Right.
And one is gone, for example. If that company ever comes to me and say, "Oh, would like that tune," yeah, I don't have it anymore. I'll make you a new one in the same style instead.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So
if I can pat myself on the back a little bit, I've been teaching that for years. It's
yeah,
like, don't let one unanswered forward ruin your life because, or if somebody reaches out and says, hey, I would love to sign that, and you say, sorry, but I can make you more. I've been saying that for years. Don't miss opportunities.
yeah,
When somebody reaches out to you, that's an open door. Find a way to get through it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if unless until it's signed, it's free to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I remember when I first joined as a member and I got my first forwards. I said, no, no, I cannot do anything with these tunes anymore now. So that's another mistake I made because I didn't know better at the time. But now I know. Now I send it. If they like it, they come back to me like a day after or two. I don't know, whenever. But if they don't, I don't care. I send it to somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm so glad you're saying this stuff. We do once a month. I do a Zoom with new members to explain these things to them, so they learn it in the beginning, not 9 months or a year later, and it helps them become more successful more quickly in their first year of membership.
yeah,
Excuse me. And I'm always disappointed that we only get, 25, 35, 40 people watching the new member Zooms, which is a fraction of the people who join every month. And it's we give you the information for free. We literally
yeah,
like hand carry you, over the finish line. All you have to do is show up and do what we suggest. But people, I guess the serious people invest a serious amount of time and effort in learning these things, and the people who are less serious still have the same aspirations but not the same work ethic, maybe.
it may be. Yeah. I mean, we're all different anyway.
We are. So finally, do you have any advice for new or early members who are frustrated? Any advice about anything at all?
I don't know whether I'm the right person to answer that. Uh,
Well, you've experienced it, so that
yeah, I
qualifies
mean,
you.
it's probably what I see right now. Again, I mean, yeah, probably the bit that I can think new members or frustrated members find the most frustrating is probably the screener, because I think many still see the screener like as a gatekeeping mechanism.
Right.
It, it may be, may not be, and what I mean, again, they make mistakes. Uh, myself, I still may not agree with some of them.
Right.
It's normal. It's a human nature anyway. But I don't take it personally. For example, I don't think I ever taken that personally. If a screener said, "No, look, I can't forward this because of these reasons," uh, yeah, probably I don't take the return personal. It's not that they're doing it because it's you. They don't even know who you are anyway.
Right. And look, every time a screener returns something, they know that they're risking that member renewing, which means, less members, less stuff for them to screen, less income. So they're not motivated toward the negative. If anything, they're motivated to keep the members happy. And also the forum, which I know you're very active on. We make it
Yeah,
possible for members that are frustrated with a screener's lack of a forward, and maybe some of their comments. And I encourage members to go on there and post a listing, post a link to the piece of music, and post what the screener said. We're very transparent about that.
yeah,
And I find that 98% of the time, the more experienced members that are part of that little family on the forums, which by the way,
yeah,
people get to at forums with an s.taxi.com, you should use it if you're not, that they get very similar feedback from their fellow members as they did from the screener. And
yeah.
it teaches them to trust that most of the time the screeners get it right.
Yeah, because I suppose, many members may see screeners like divinities, that they are unreachable, and if you've been to their rally, probably you have talked to them and without knowing that they are screeners.
Yeah,
We only know who the head screener is really. I mean,
right.
because it's publicly mentioned. But I think I've met a few ex-screeners or screeners anyway, even without knowing that they were screeners or they are screeners. I think I've met them. But again, I mean, I know people uh, would appreciate like a forum post from somebody in the forum a bit better than the screener apparently, because
Yeah,
probably they feel like the people in the forum in the same league, if you will,
yeah.
whereas the screeners are like those,
Divinity? I don't know
in
if
the
I would rate them
Olympus.
quite that high, but okay.
Yeah, like the gods in the Olympus. It's
Right.
not really like that. For example, I remember when every time I met, Craig Pilot.
Yeah.
We don't really engage that much, but I've always had lovely conversations with him, even if just for a couple of minutes or so. And I think I remember I did write to him for a Brazilian listing that I received a return
Uh-huh.
for a capoeira piece I did, because I thought the listing didn't really specify what, I mean, actually, there was a list of genres specified, but eventually, um, I think most of the forwards were actually bossa or samba or something in that style. So I went really off with the capoeira piece, which of course, I mean, Craig appreciated that, but he also explained why the screener returned it. But the screener also said, probably he said they were expecting more like the usual stuff.
Yeah.
I can get that, but then I remember sending an email to your wife asking about, perhaps in certain cases, the listing description may be a bit more detailed if that is even possible. Like that particular case of the Brazilian listing it could have been misunderstood, I thought at the
Right.
time. So that's when, and why I asked, would it be possible to have a conversation with you about probably in certain instances to make the listing description probably as much detail as possible so that people don't fall into a trap, you know,
And
of
we
having
try.
said,
Honestly, I
oh,
want to
I
address
know.
that because I'm sure you're not the only person that ever feels that way. It's not something that happens with every listing every day, but we work very, very hard, starting with Tom Stillwagon, who's the head of the A&R department under the roof here. He interfaces with these companies and they give him a description. And sometimes their descriptions are lacking that detail, and we reach out to them and ask for more. And sometimes they really can't give it to us because it's
Yeah.
not a perfect world, or maybe that genre is really hard to put into words because we're talking music and words.
Yeah.
So just know that we really, really try hard to get as much
Oh,
information.
I do that. And you know, what confused me for the Brazilian listing is that there were a number of genres mentioned, but then eventually the forwards were more in the usual suspect circle. That's what I thought. But okay, it's mentioned this, and
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
interesting.
So, I mean, again, we are all human beings. We are our own ideas, and it's okay. That's why the world is beautiful because of the differences and the varied aspects. You know, that's it.
Well, this interview has been beautiful. Your trepidation about your accent, not an issue. I love your accent. I really
Thank you very
appreciate all
much.
this great information that you've given your fellow members. I really appreciate the fact that you decided to rejoin and come to the rally last year. I hope that you can come this year. I look forward to seeing you.
I already booked everything. Yeah.
Great. I so look forward to seeing you there. And I'll let you in on a little secret, which is we could probably get through the registration line at the road rally, where we give out the badges faster. But we know that the longer people stay in that line, the greater chance that they'll make new
Yes.
friends and friendships have developed into business relationships and collaborations. So we quietly sit there going, it's kind of like a parent putting, go to your room, and it hurts you to do it, but you know that the benefits will come from it. So same thing. Yes, we could get through the registration line probably in 90 minutes, but instead it's 3 hours. But look at the people you meet.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's always the bar anyway.
That's right. I
Yeah.
like
And
your
I think
positive thinking.
yeah. This year I'm actually coming the day before, so I will be there already the night before
Great.
the registration day because I'm leaving then on Sunday evening. I'm going to Chicago to see a friend for a few days. So this time I anticipate my arrival a little bit.
Well,
So
that's
yeah,
great. And have fun in Chicago. I grew up very near Chicago and have a lot of family in that area. It's one of the nicest people in a big city that you'll find in America. It's really special. They've had a lot of problems with crime over the last couple of years, but the city itself is beautiful. The architecture. Oh, if you get a chance, take one of the architectural tours. Although compared to Rome, it might be disappointing.
I don't care. I mean, that's why one takes and does those tours because it's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, oh, and also the drivers in Chicago are much better than the drivers in Rome. I've been to Rome, and oh my gosh, you literally take your life in your hands, crossing with a green light. You're still risking your life.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate, and I don't like that. To be fair with you, I mean, every time I'm crossing the road, even if I'm going on the zebras, I think I really need to be careful.
But you guys make up for it. Italy, the food is amazing, and the fact that you can buy a $3 bottle of wine is better than a $50 bottle of wine in
Yeah,
America. You got the food and wine thing down, and the
or you know
history is amazing.
you can get the takeaway square of pizza.
Yeah.
That's the best thing.
Absolutely. Well, Marco, thank you again for doing this. This has been great information. I'm sure your fellow members will really appreciate it when they hear it. And I will see you November 7th at the Road Rally. Thank you very much.
Well,
Ladies
thank
and
you very much
gentlemen,
for
Mr.
having me.
Marco Iannello.
Thank you, Michael. It's been a pleasure.